When it comes to props, you think about weight and weight distribution. You got to carry it around.
Yep. Can you move? Can you bend? Can you pee? I'm serious. When you get suited up in a suit of armor, and I'm looking at Bill for this because I know how the Star Wars costumes can be, or how his Iron Man, he goes into his Iron Man armor. You are not going to urinate for 6 hours. You are not going to move upstairs. You are not going to bend at the waist. You are going to drop your badge on the floor and go, oh, fudge monkey. You have to think about these things because you're so excited, and I do this all the time, and that's why I have him, because I'm like, I'm gonna go use this costume, and I'm gonna have so much fun, it's gonna be so great, and then I'm like, oh crap, I can't It literally turns into those moments, and you don't even think about it because you haven't put the costume on yet. Put the costume on, walk around your house in it, sit, try to bend, try to move, try to reach, try to do something that you do in your day-to-day life. That way you know your limitations, that way you get an idea of what's gonna stick into you, what's gonna hurt your back, what's gonna, how your feet are gonna be, especially shoes. And I am so guilty of this because at Comicon a year and a half ago, I wore my Satil Sham costume. I hadn't tested out the boots that had been custom made for me. And I ended up, by the end of the day, my sock was full of blood because I did not test the boots, and I had a really bad blister cut in the back of my ankle. And you have to test out these things. If you cannot go to the bathroom in your costume, or you can't get undressed, or whatever it is, make sure that you hydrate prior, and then you give yourself a time limit to be out. Otherwise you will get heat stroke, sunstroke, whatever it is. Be safe.
Now, to be fair, I have known people who have tripped while wearing Depends. So, yeah, Bill knows this too. Anyway,
it's a secret that we don't talk about.
Yeah. And we're getting close to being out of time, and I want to leave a little bit of room for questions. But one of the things while you're doing this testing and walk around and bounce around and run some laps or whatever, is you're going to learn what points of your costume are going to have failure points. And you're going to learn, oh, that strap didn't hold, or this is where this is rubbing, or this piece here just keeps falling off. You're going to learn that so that you don't have to learn it while you're out on the floor with,
And do it in a mirror too. And I say this because that way you can be seated and be like, okay, I'm comfortable, this is great. And then you see a picture of yourself with your belly hanging over your belt.
I want to just say that I think that is absolutely very important, and I know you're going to feel stupid walking around your house, vacuuming in costume or whatever. I mean, you laugh at it. But I totally do this. I mean, it's like, I know someone will come to my house and I'll have like some weird get-up, armor on, chest plate, and I want to see how long I can wear it. Is it sore? Is it going to break? Those stress points. Because if you're walking around a convention for the longest I've worn a suit of armor is 15 hours. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a tank when it comes to this, but you have, and the bathroom thing was true, very true on that. You have to know the stress points, what you can do and can't do. You got to learn what you can do in your costume. Because one costume I have, I can bend down, do everything. In another costume, if I bend down like that, it's going to be in pieces.
Yeah.
You have to kind of learn each costume has its own range of motion.
Don't let that be a detractor for you. Do those costumes that are amazing that you can't move in. Just be aware of what you can and cannot do, and have the most important person in the world there with you to be a handler. And when I say handler, they can hold your badge, they can hold your phone, they can get you water, they can be there for you if you have an emergency.
And more importantly, they can tell the slew of people that are taking your picture that they have 3 seconds, and then you're done and you're moving. So this way you can get out to a safe place where you can hide.
Or you don't get yelled at by Comicon staff.
Or that.
I have to piggyback on this with the handler and the wear it before you go to the convention, because I did not wear my Slave Leia costume before I went to Comicon. And that's a big gamble to me. But I learned the hard way that if you sit down, it's made of these little clips on the sides that come unclipped if you're sitting. And thankfully I had a handler that caught the butt plate as it came off my bare butt at Comicon and just slammed it against my butt. I caught the front. I got
You know, I
saying that
have
you
a,
go commando and slave Leia?
No, you actually, it's funny, the underwear in Slave Leia is clipped in the front and back.
well, I was gonna say, you know, I have a tutorial about how to put underwear in costumes that look like they have no
See,
underwear.
yeah, I did that. I had the underwear. Does not matter if it's coming off because it failed. So I should have known, oh, I have to safety pin all of the clips or something, you know, equally
Yep.
sturdy
Yeah.
because if you sit down at all, someone's going to be holding a butt plate to your butt.
That goes into the whole research phase of, think about wardrobe malfunctions, whether you're a guy or a girl, everybody can have them, and they're always embarrassing, so I'm just gonna say that right now. I have a Spider-Man story,
No, we'll tell
and a
that
cup,
later,
and
because we
it
don't
was
have a lot
really
of
awkward.
time.
Anyway, all right, I'm not gonna go through every one of these resources, these are just a few of the possible things. There's great message boards out there. Some of them, like Abby mentioned in the beginning, are tiered to your specific costume that you're looking into, and the others on the left side are different supply sites. You know, places like Tandy Leather and Krylon and Mayron and Makeups, and there's so much out there. This is just a list of them. If you come down to booth 1404, is it?
Yep.
We've got a bunch of little postcards, and on the back are most of these resources. So you can just grab a card and take it with you. So now we got a few minutes left, and let's open it up for quick questions. We've got like time for about 4 or 5 questions.
Yay. There's a microphone
What am I
right
doing?
there. Anybody? Question? Or you could just shout it.
Q&A. Yeah,
Yeah,
anybody?
raise your hand, come on, ask questions.
Right
Hey!
there.
I don't know if the microphone's working, so you are gonna be our test bunny.
Okay.
Test it. No,
All right.
okay.
Is there any tunnel dream or tunnel project that you don't think you'll ever actually be able to complete that you really want to though?
I want to be a Jaeger.
Well,
I really want to be a Jaeger.
What's the Jaeger?
One to one scale.
Pacific Rim, Jaeger, you know, the big mech. Yes.
Anybody else?
Go for it!
Metals or plastics?
Plastics. Metal is very, very, very heavy, and after a couple hours, and it can get really hot, and it's heavy.
It'll weigh on you.
Yep.
Do you know any good sources to learn how to build wings?
Oh,
yes!
there's like the tons of tutorials. Me first, then we can begin.
No.
Cthulhu wings specifically.
Huh?
Cthulhu wings.
Well, there's a couple. I think is it Firefly? Firefly.
Yes, Firefight. Yep, no one can say it. Joelle is the name of the girl who runs Firefly Path. She's been doing it forever.
And she's
incredible.
Yeah. There are actually a ton of tutorials. I would do wing tutorials. I've seen at least 5 or 6 of them that are pretty awesome.
DeviantArt is probably your best resource for wing tutorials.
Yep.
Anybody else? This side, you guys are really quiet over here. Just gonna say. Okay.
Is there any good places to learn about styling wigs?
Yes, there
DeviantArt.
YouTube.
Oh, really? Because like I guess because I worked at DeviantArt, I've like gone through all the. So, but there's a great one about Sharpie dyeing wigs on DeviantArt.
Yeah,
There's great.
There's tutorials out there where there's even specific character tutorials about how to make lace front wigs and widow's peak wigs and all sorts of different things. I have a couple of tutorials.
You learn how to do, didn't you take a curly wig and make it straight?
Yeah.
Which was a synthetic wig, and there's a tutorial up on YouTube for that.
Good skills.
Anybody else?
I was gonna add to that the cosplay.com, their forums. If you Google, that's almost always the first thing that's gonna come up. If you're like, hey, what Sailor Pluto wig should I use? There's probably gonna be a post from 5 years ago that people have answered.
Yep.
All right, last, yeah.
Go for it.
What's the most expensive project you've ever done, and how do you usually set up a budget?
Ooh, awesome.
Set up the budget, and then double it, and then double that, and that's what you're gonna spend.
No. Well, she's right in some ways because you always end up spending more money on a costume than you actually realize because there's that trial and error period and you're like, oh great, I just messed up a whole thing of silicone and I have to go buy $200 more of it.
Right, and you gotta almost build that in.
Yeah. You know, what I do on a personal level is out of every paycheck I get, I put a certain amount into my savings account for costuming. That is my costuming budget. That's what goes towards it. If I sell anything at a convention, that goes towards the costuming. I set money aside in order to be able to do that. When I'm doing my storyboarding for my costumes, I also put amounts on there. okay, it's gonna cost me $65 for this type of wig, it's gonna cost me $200 for silicone, it's gonna cost me this much for paint. So I get an idea of what I'm gonna be getting into. And then I think the most expensive costume, I think for me, would probably be Satil Sean, because all that was custom dyed and tanned leather, and that is not cheap. So that was a lot of money.
Yeah, and you know, everybody gets a little, every once in a while you get so antsy because you want to get this costume done by a certain date for a certain con, and you know, all of us at some point in time have taken that credit card if we have it, and we maybe overextended ourselves for something that we really wanted right now. Don't be afraid to take a step back and go, you know what, there'll be a con next year or next month or whatever. I'm working on a Ghostbuster costume, been wanting to do it for a while. Ron down here's been inspiration because he finally got his together. But I know it's going to take a while because it's not a cheap costume. And I'm just going, all right, well, when I get enough money, I'm going to buy that part. And then I'm going to buy that part. And eventually I'll get to assemble it all. So.
It'd be like cosplay Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, the things that, honestly, for me, the things that have cost the most are the things I couldn't take the time on. The most expensive costume I've ever done, hands down, is that damn Hawkeye bunny. Because they added me to the group about 2 weeks before Comicon.
I love you, Meg.
I had no time, so I had to have somebody make the base bunny costume for me, and then I had to add all the Hawkeye pieces to it. The base bunny costume was like $400 on its own. So
But
I
you
mean,
look
like
fabulous.
that's just plays right into the cheap, fast,
Right.
good
Yeah.
thing.
One in the far back.
Yeah.
For the guys, what's the weight of like fake musculature if you're going to do bold or large?
Flexdesign.com. Brandon there makes these amazing muscle suits, like really amazing.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. A full muscle suit, I want to say around $800, which sounds ridiculous, but it's something you can use in any cool costume that you want to do. So if you want to be Deadpool, Batman, or Spider-Man, or whatever, and he makes different musculature types. So if you want to be the lean and fit guy, or you want to be a little bit bigger, or you want to be like Hulk, all different ranges. Go check that out.
And he also does like just certain parts of the bodysuits, like he can do an upper chest, or he can do just legs or something like that. And it actually is a really cool resource because, you know, Batman has like thighs like this.
Yeah.
Where unless you work on your entire life like, building for that, you're never gonna get thighs like that. So, you know, it's really
Yeah,
great.
there's a number of great costumes you see out there, especially superheroes and spandex are using those muscle suits because they do look amazing. Anybody else? All right, one last quick word because we got to move, but I'm sure they're going to kick us out. If you had one tip to give to folks that are just starting out for their projects, what would it be? Starting with Bill.
Take your time. Take your time. Start out and just to go through a process, go methodically. You know, when I finished Boba Fett, it was probably the less stressful costume I've ever done. And I just started collecting pieces here and there, started working on one piece, bought a piece here, stumbled into this. And I was like, oh my God, about a year later, I said, I have everything. And it was like the best and the coolest into a project, rather than me trying to beat myself to get it done in 3 months or 2 months or a month. For me, that was like, I had to learn to breathe because I'm a very OCD kind of person. I want it now, I want it together, and I want it perfect. And sometimes I just focus on one piece at a time.
My tip would be have fun. What we do is not life and death. Nobody is, you're not saving the world, sorry. You're not curing cancer. It's supposed to be fun. So don't lose sight of that. When you get frustrated, take a step back. It's easy to do. I get just as frustrated as well. That's when I make the most mistakes. Like at the end of the day, even if it's not perfect, even if I didn't get that scene that she's supposed to have here or there or whatever, if I have fun and I'm just happy with the costume and just having a good time in it, it doesn't matter. So just honestly remember that it's supposed to be fun.
I think that's something I would say too. Plan effectively. You know what you're getting. Have an idea of what you're getting into with the costume. You know, I would say for your first costume, go build a Jaeger. Do something a little simpler, and remember why. You know, it's here, and if you love it and you can think it and you can dream it, you can do it, and don't you ever let anybody take that away from you.
And for me, I'd say enjoy the journey. Because when you're building your first prop or your first costume, it is a journey. You're gonna have trial and error, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna learn new things, you're gonna, fail, you're gonna have successes. Enjoy the entire process, because when you look, you take pictures all the way through. And when you look back, you'll be able to look back and that'll be that first costume, and it's awesome. So that's it. You have been great. Thank you for joining us in Craft Your Fandom. Thank you to the panel. And don't forget, come down to 1404 and postcard resources and stuff. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.